Hey guys, welcome back. Better Than a Let's Play, episode 42. I'm Igneous, and today we are all over the place again, which is good, because that means lots of stuff is going on. Now that we got over the hurdle of getting our reactor built, so much things to do. I know that's poor grammar, and I'm okay with it, and I hope you are too. We're gonna cut the intro rambling a little bit short, and we're just going to dive right in. I've expanded the ME network, that's the Applied Energistics computer kind of storage system, into our main sort of little room here, because for the longest time, basically since we built all of our little spherical containers, if you will, this has been home base, sitting in here with all these chests. As we need things, we just kind of add them. I'm slowly moving away from using chests now and putting everything into the ME storage system. I've added some storage modules, the storage drives, for regular items in addition to the fluids, so now that I can store everything, I just put everything in here and it's fantastic. I'm probably going to have to start making a couple more drives because the ones that I've got in place are almost full. You can see all kinds of crazy stuff in here. Basically, literally a little bit of everything. Coming down here to my ore collection, unprocessed ores. It's always nice to have a certain amount of unprocessed ores on hand. For some reason, I thought I had more iron ore, but I think I may have actually... Oh yeah, I converted it to blocks with the smeltery, so we're fine. All kinds of good stuff. And I'm using cyan, as in the color, C-Y-A-N, cyan filters in my Mine Factory Reloaded mining drill, because it increases the odds of pulling yellowite ore when it does mine, which is good because it says 4 and you think, geez dude, only 4? I've already processed almost 2 stacks of yellowite ore since I started running the drill, which means we're pulling fuel for the reactor much faster than we can actually use it, which is also fantastic. It's just one less thing to worry about because, as you'll see, there's no shortage of things to worry about. So that's the ME storage system, and this chest here beside it is just, I can dump whatever into this chest and it'll get gobbled into the storage system, and then I can recover it from the terminal right beside it. It's quick, it's easy. You can type in stuff up top here, say we want iron something, it filters it for you. If you don't have anything typed in, it's all listed alphabetically. So much better, so much easier, and more straightforward than chests and having to dig around for stuff. Now you might notice as I'm turning occasionally things are a little bit jerky. That's because I've spent a certain amount of time preparing for this episode, and every once in a while when I do that, the game starts to get tired after a little while and it just wants a break, and I'm saying let's just record this and then you'll get your break, game. You work for me, not the other way around. Now I've made some changes to the reactor. One thing you'll notice is that we're no longer feeding it water. That's very important. And obviously we're no longer exporting steam. Now you can see it wasn't enough to just stop feeding it water, let it run out of water, let all the steam filter out of the system, and then hopefully it would switch on its own to power. I had to remove all of the fluid input-output ports. Not a big deal. It was a little bit more than I was anticipating, and I made a point of replacing them with reactor casing blocks, just so that later on when we switch back to steam, it'll be easier for me to remember where I had everything and how many output things I had and how many input. I think we're going to try with more water next time, more water input, and see if that helps improve production. This thing is a beast. It's an absolute beast. Now the reason why I did that is because I wanted to convert it over to power generation. One of the viewers very wisely pointed out that for the time being it would be better to have it producing power that I can use and then switch to steam later, especially now that I've got like 32,000 buckets worth of steam in storage that I can mess around with to tweak and tune the turbines when we make them. And then also that allows us to burn the fuel that we've got into cyanide ingots, which we use to make turbine housing blocks, which are key components in all of the other turbine blocks that we need to build the multi-block turbine structure. It'll make more sense when we built it, and in actual fact I had intended to be focusing on that this episode, but there's just so much other stuff going on. I didn't really have time So we're accumulating the materials that are necessary. These are all, I didn't spawn any of these in. I didn't cheat in any of the materials to make these. This is all made with the cyanite that I pulled from the reactor. We do get a wee tiny bit of cyanite from processing the yellowite ore in a SAG. What is this thing? A SAG mill? I don't even know what SAG stands for. It's from Ender IO, which has nothing to do with big reactors as far as I know. But by processing our yellowite here, it doubles the yellowite and it gives us like a 1 in 10 or a 1 in 20 chance of getting cyanite dust, which I'll take it. I'm not going to complain about that. See, this is the last batch of yellowite that I put through here. While we're here, let's just run around here and you'll see these are the last 3 that I've got from the previous batch of yellowite that we processed. Yellorium. Oh, there we go. There's another stack of yellorium that we just finished processing, and his component friend. And then we run over here, and this is our storage for yellorium ingots. So you can see this is about what we put into it the first time through. When we first fired up the reactor, we put in not quite 3 stacks of yellorium. Now we've got a little over 3 stacks of yellorium. And if we come over here, we can see that we still have 112 ingots worth of yellorium in there. So we've used a little over 1/3 of the fuel that we put into it, and we've gained back already more than the total amount of fuel we put in. So we're good. We're absolutely fantastic for fuel. That's all that's going on with the reactor. I should point out, 16,000 flux per tick. It was up to 20,000 flux per tick a little while ago, but I think as the fuel quantity depletes, the energy produced also goes down with it, because I had it was basically pinned at 20,000 flux per tick because that was all it could output. There wasn't room for any more in my system to move it or consume it or anything like that. And the efficiency, the fuel reactivity. I think the mistake that I made when I put all this time and effort into farming up materials for cryothium and doing the liquid ender in between the fuel rods is that only works for producing power with this system. If you're using the reactor to produce steam, those don't count nearly so much, I don't think, which is good to know, because at least we can do both. We can produce power very, very well, or we can produce steam. It's not a big deal. You can see the casing temperature is a little bit lower than the core temperature. That's because we're using the cryothium for cooling the casing, and the core is just a liquid ender. So we're good. We're good. I would like to see what this thing can do if it didn't have any limits on how fast it could move the energy out. Now, in terms of storage, very, very quickly, there was a point in time when all of these guys were full, except for 2, and that's because I was using the energy as fast as the reactor could put it in. So these 2 on the end were basically empty, not because they weren't getting any energy, but because it was getting pulled out as fast as it was getting put in, and the rest of these guys were full. Now, because our energy production has dropped a little bit below 20,000, all of these guys are now basically empty. You can see as I mouse over them, they're receiving, they'll get a tiny bit of energy and then it's gone. I'm okay with that, because all we really want right now is enough to keep our laser drill going and the other machines that might be in use. And I don't care if they're running at 100% capacity either. Now, this is our laser drill setup. Now, the Mine Factory Reloaded laser drill is a little bit different than obviously a quarry, for example, in that it doesn't gobble up the landscape. And it's different from the Mechanism digital miner in the sense that it doesn't dig the ore from a certain area around the drill. This basically makes up ore as it goes along. You have to manually dig a shaft all the way down to bedrock for setting one of these up in the overworld, and then you set this guy up and you put 4 pre-chargers around it, up to 4. Apparently you can do it with just 1, but if you have up to 4 and you're powering them all adequately, that will allow you to get the most out of the whole setup. You can see these beams connecting from the laser pre-chargers to the laser, and they've got another beam going down indicating that it's mining, and it runs on cycles. and it's like so many of the other Mind Factory Reloaded machine blocks. It's showing you it's got work, and as soon as it reaches 300, it's going to mine an ore. The more power you have, you can see it's struggling to stay full right now because we're below the 20,000 threshold. So we're drawing energy faster than we're producing it. As long as this thing stays full, this goes as fast as possible. Once it reaches 300, it produces a new block, which when you think about it, it's pretty slow, because right now it's going at about 10 work per second, give or take. So 30 seconds to produce one block. But it's when you go and do other things and you get occupied building or working on other projects that it starts to add up and accumulate. So I'm not really worried about it. It's doing a good job. And now that we've got our pink slime set up, we can make more of these if we wanted, and just, run our power supply into the ground, but that's okay. And these are the filters. It had room for 6 different filters, and I said, well, what happens if we just put all the same color filter in? Will that improve our odds of getting yellowite? And it seemed to. I don't know. We can, later on when we have enough power, we'll set up another laser drill. We'll try different color filters and see what happens. But for now, the key was making sure we were getting enough fuel. So the big thing was the laser drill pre-chargers. We talked about these in the last episode. Laser drill pre-charger, because everything here is pretty straightforward. This is the thermal expansion recipes that we get for this guy. Hardened glass, glowstone illuminator, plastic sheets. It's the pink slime balls that were problematic because it required a completely different system that is completely unrelated to what we're trying to do. It's from the same mod. It's all Mind Factory Reloaded, but it was one of those things that I was a little bit shocked. So we're gonna go take a look at it. Every time I show up here, there he is. There, look at that. I was about to say, every time I show up here, I hear the gas and they start lobbing stuff at me, but I can never see where they are, and I finally saw him. That's fantastic. Now he's dead. This is our pink slime factory. In order to produce the pink slime balls that we need for the laser drill pre-charger, this guy right here, we had to set up a slaughterhouse, which is a Mind Factory Reloaded block that you can see here. It's got the idle thing. As soon as it gets down to 0, it'll check to see if there's anything nearby to kill. And if there is, it will expend energy to kill whatever is around it. And the byproduct of doing so is liquid meat and pink slime. Now, the difficulty that I had with this is that the documentation was unfortunately, it wasn't in place, shall we say. I had to go hunting around to find out what was going on, because I had this set up in the previous episode. We were trying it with horses. I wasn't having any luck. I had a tank set up for the liquid meat, and I was expecting to see pink slime show up in one of these 2 containers in the machine, which never happened. It never happened at all. So I kind of set it aside and thought maybe it doesn't work with horses. I thought that it didn't work with monsters, but it does. This thing will actually kill monsters and gather liquid meat from them. So I had this soul shard for blazes, which I think I left here. Blazes. The majority of the kills on this soul shard, I got 4 blaze spawners here in the nether. When you shift right click with a soul shard onto a mob spawner, you get the equivalent of like 200 kills or something. That makes it much, much easier to get higher up in the tiers. So I tried that, and it was producing all kinds of meat. You can see here all the raw meat ingots that we were getting, because we take the liquid meat and we put it into a meat packer. This thing is still doing its... I think that's why we're getting this stutter, is because this thing is just so backlogged with meat that it's trying to pack into meat ingots. You can see it's just still going. Look at how many raw meat ingots that I've got from all my experimentation mucking about. So I had it set up, and it was putting raw meat into a tank, and I wasn't seeing any pink slime anywhere, and it was I didn't know what was going on, so I had to go Google around and find someone else asking the question, and found out that really the only way to make it work, you see, is you have to get a liquid router, which is also from Mind Factory Reloaded, or at the very least, this is another way to make it work. And then you put a meat bucket, which is the liquid meat, in one, route it out one side, and then the pink slime out the other, and it actually divides the one liquid into the two things, or at least it seems that way. It doesn't. There's actually pink slime in the machine, but it wants to alternate between dishing out slime and meat. So that was a problem. Just not a very good setup. So I was able to produce a small amount of pink slime, but I had to keep alternating, moving the tanks back and forth, because I would have a tank here, for example, that was connected to this guy, and it was getting liquid meat, and then the one in the back would have a tiny bit of pink slime in it, and then they would both just sit there, and the machine would bung up, and it wouldn't output anything, but it also wouldn't show any volume of liquid in either of these two containers, right? Because this is where it gets fun. Things, we got to scratch our heads and start Googling. So I would switch the tanks, and all of a sudden I'd get 500 millibuckets of pink slime in here, and this thing would go crazy with the meat, which we'd ship off to the packer and turn to ingots, and then they would stop again, and I'd switch them back. I got enough pink slime for a pink slime bucket, and then we set up this router, and now all the pink slime goes here, and the reason why it's stuttering, I think, is because this thing is full again, and this is more than just your standard exposition here. I wanted to set up a void thing here, because I'll bet you the stuttering will stop if we start voiding the pink slime out of the top of this bastard. I think I've brought everything that I need. Yeah, it's been installed, and we'll just go in here for that guy. So many gases. There we go. Now we're voiding it. And that way we can produce, it actually produces a lot of pink slime. But because we're voiding it now, we can keep producing it all we want, and it's not going to bung up the whole system, because this guy is full, and this guy's got nowhere to ship his meat. Oh my god. So, what happens when you've got a tank full of pink slime like this, and you want pink slime balls, is you take a bucket of it and you plop it on the ground. Here in the Nether, the slime that it produces dies immediately, and you can just sit here all day. And it's going to make some slime nuggets and some pink slime balls. But I want to see what these guys look like in the overworld, because I haven't seen it. I was just messing around in the Nether. I got all my pink slime balls, just plopping it on the ground, and they die instantly. So let's see. Oh, back off, zombie. I'm busy. Armored zombies, I swear. Just because, and I hear you. I hope you're underground, because I don't got time for your crap. Alright. What the hell is going on? They said take a bucket, plop it on the ground, and it, oh, there it is. Look, he's a little pink slime. He's all floppy and ploppy all over the place. He's very, very unhealthy. He's got half a heart of health. And when you kill him, there's your pink slime balls. Just remember to run your liquid out of the slaughterhouse through the router to split it, so that it goes into the two different areas where you want to store it or use it or whatever, and it's really not that bad. We've got enough pink slime balls for 10 laser pre-chargers, and we can basically produce more whenever we want, which is fantastic. So that's what we had to go over this episode. Like I said, lots of stuff going on. Next episode, I would like to be looking at the steam turbines for the reactor. They're specifically from big reactors for reactors. They run on steam, and they're big, related to reactors. If you want to be notified when I add that or other videos, You could subscribe to my channel. That's one way. The other way is to follow me on the social media places. Information for that is in the information box below the video. Please don't be afraid to leave your comments and feedback. Lots of helpful people out there pointing out things that really make this a lot easier. So thanks to all of you. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.